first of all, I want to ask all of you, have you been inspired today? Are you feeling inspired? Has this been a great day? Brilliant. Now, can I ask another question? Are you all exhausted? Do you just feel like you've had so much information thrown at you that you just can't cope anymore? Well, that is what mental health is. And we've had so many inspiring things today, but the reason why mental health is so difficult to manage is because it's exhausting and it's difficult and it's personal. And we all take something different from it. So on the basis that it's actually very difficult, I'm just going to say a little bit about mental wellbeing in the workplace. Now, we started a project in 2010 to talk about what mental health in the workplace actually meant. We're all about positive mental health. So this is about what we can do, not what the problem is. Now, we began working with Bodhi Smiley on a pilot project in 2012. So it's been 4 years down the line. And he's going to give you some data about that later on. But the first thing I want to show you, really, is how we talk about mental health. So we're very reactive to mental health. We tend to react when the problem has happened. We're not proactive before it happens. So if you look at all these things that we do to react when we're really stressed, we drink more alcohol, we eat more, we have aches and pains, we have stomach aches, we have headaches. We're mean to the people close to us because actually we don't want to interact with people, but also we don't want to interact with someone who might give us more negative feedback. So we tend to stay away from the people who might actually help us. So all of these things are things that we do to react. And what we want to talk about more is how to be more proactive. Now, this is how I think about mental health. Someone said this to me a few years ago, and it stuck with me, because when I imagine myself as stressed, this is how I feel. So I felt like I had a washing machine inside my head. I had lots of thoughts constantly going around, but nothing made sense. I couldn't organize them enough to create solutions. I just thought and thought and thought. So a washing machine is really, when you think about your head and all the thoughts that are happening. So every day we have a number of stressful things that are happening in our lives. And at times we have really big stressful things. So it could be bereavement, it could be having a huge work project, it could be divorce, it could be moving house, all of those things. But when we go through a really stressful event, what we tend to do is accumulate them all together and not prioritize them. So the washing machine, to me, is about non-prioritizing things, not putting plans in place because we haven't prioritized them. So when we go through our training, there are a number of things that we talk to people about how they can manage their mental health better. And this is probably something that, through management speak, people have come across about a lot, about how to prioritize and organize. But I think this is really effective when it comes to mental health. You look at things you can control, and you look at things you can't control. And which one do you think we need to concentrate on when we're really stressed? Is it the things you can't control, or the things you can? So let's give you an example of things we can control. How long do we think it's important before we respond to an email? So would you respond to an email within a day? Yeah? Would you normally respond to an email the same day? Put your hands up. That's a bit of physical movement. How many people think that as soon as they get an email in, they're expected to respond immediately? Yeah, I do as well. And I think this is a consequence of us reacting to things as well. Because if you think about that, when we're sitting and doing our work and we're getting on and thinking, I'm doing a really brilliant job here, someone sends an email into us, we immediately react to them, and we're immediately doing what other people want us to do. We're not taking care of our own needs. So this is about bringing things you can control back into place. Now, these are a few things you can do in the workplace, and this is what Guernsey Mind offers to support workplaces to manage their employees better. And when we're talking about managing better, we're talking about the fact that we live in a world where performance management is crucial. We all have to perform, and we're all judged. So some of the words they use in the workplace are capability, absence management, performance management. This is not real people management, and I know Bowley's going to talk about people management. This is about making staff be controlled so that they can work. It's not about enabling them so that their well-being is good and they feel safe, supported, and can be more productive in the workplace. Now, we know that if you have a period of time off for mental health, it's on average about 36 days. The average person takes off 4.4 days per year for well-being in total. So we know that mental well-being costs the workplace a huge amount in terms of employee absence. And the aim is to keep people in work. All of these things will help to keep people in work. So just to look at another form of support, and this is Lateral Change. Now this comes, if you're part of the mental health community, it comes from the Recovery Star. And what this does is look at how we can admit to initially knowing that we have an issue. So as soon as we can, as a workplace, as a person, admit that we're under stress, that life is difficult, that we want to get better, this is when we start up the ladder of change. And I think this is so important that we reward ourselves as we go up the ladder. Because as you can see, you start off with saying, actually, I don't want anybody's help. And this is when you're at the real bottom. Then you look to your boss, to your friends, to your colleagues to sort it out for you. But if you can have a supportive workplace, what happens is you start believing in yourself. And this is what we need to help employees do, is start believing that they can make a difference. So instead of that employee going off and taking 36 days because they don't feel supported at work, we want them to say, it's okay, I'm really stressed, I'm going through a difficult time at home. What I'm going to do is take one day off. Instead of coming in at work and being presenteeism, as we talked about before, they're not sitting at their desk doing nothing, getting more and more stressed about what they're not doing. They're at home, relaxing, thinking, I'll go back to work in another couple of days. We can do it for a cold. Why can't we do it for our mental health as well? And just to finish off here, this is how we tend to react to people who are not feeling great about themselves. So you'll go in, you'll say to work, I'm having a really tough time at the moment. Your likely response is, oh, that's terrible. Well, do you know, when this happened to me, this was what I did to sort it out. We need to learn to be actively listening more, and it's exhausting, but you don't really need to say anything to that person. You need to actively listen and enable them to come up with solutions for themselves. And this is one of the solutions. So I'm just going to pass you over to Bowley.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I don't know about you, but I thought it was an outstanding prop there for the first line. That's the nicest thing he's ever said to me, actually. So, for those of you that don't know me, I work at Guernsey Post, and I have done for 25 years, which is outstanding, really, when you think. What's fantastic about it's such a great company to work for. I don't like to boast, but I've never been ill in 25 years at working at Guernsey Post. I've never had one day off sick. Not because I haven't been ill. There's no illness, no sickness, nothing, not one day off. Fantastic place to work. If you're not impressed by that, be impressed by the fact that the 200 odd colleagues that I work with, same for them. Not one day off sick, not one cough, not one cold, not one bout of flu or anything like that. Impressive, right? Who believes that? Mum, you there? Well, of course, that's ridiculous, isn't it? It's utterly ridiculous for the notion that a company could protect its employees from any form of illness is just stupid. So why is it in this day and age that we have business leaders, and I know this because some of them tell me, who say we don't have a problem with mental health in our organisation? It's astonishing how many people say that to me. And of course, what I then say to them back on those occasions is I roll out the two statistics, one of which you've heard. One was in Susan's presentation and earlier today, which I'm shocked by every time I refer to them. I have to re-Google them just to make sure that I was reading them correctly. And of course, that is that one in four of us have suffered from a mental health problem over the last 12 months. And the one that I find actually quite scary is that 17% of people have at some point in their lives had suicidal thoughts. It's stunningly scary, that figure. So for anyone in business, any business leader or anyone working in any environment to say, actually, we haven't got a problem here, our people aren't affected by this issue, well, just that in itself is just obviously wrong. So why do they think like that? Well, I can tell you that with some authority because that's exactly how I felt before I met Good Cop. Yeah, I was one of them. I felt that anyone who said, actually, I've got a mental health issue was either, exaggerating, probably, or lying. And in both cases, they were probably taking off time off work for no good reason. I didn't actually believe in mental health issues for the majority of people. And as Susan pointed out in her presentation just before this one, it costs business a lot of money, and that's what really attracted my interest to it. It was not necessarily the well-being of employees, was the fact that actually this was costing us quite a bit of money. So what did I think about that? Well, two reasons. I think in business, there's a lot of people that think, well, if I admit we've got people with mental health issues, that's going to bring great shame on the organisation. What's going to happen? Customers will leave us. We won't be able to recruit anyone, or awful things like that. Of course, none of that is true. In some cases as well, and this is a classic example, the sort of negativity around an issue can be perpetuated through an organisation. So if you don't really want to tackle a problem and everyone else is telling you, don't worry, there isn't a problem, chances are you're not going to do anything about it. And my experience of mental health was always very much in this sort of quarter. To try and apply an example to it, in an organisation of 200 people, we get people that get some pretty awful illnesses at time. 6 months ago, a chap I worked closely with developed leukemia. He was off to Southampton 2 days later and has been there since, receiving treatment. Now, I could give you countless examples over the years of where illnesses that we understand, people have rushed to my office, knocked on the door and said, look, we really want to help Joe. How can we, is his job going to be okay? We can take on some more work. We'd like to raise some money. We'd like to do all sorts. Very, very sympathetic to those sorts of situations. Broken a leg or in this case, cancer. When it comes to mental health, my experience was always very different until about 3 or 4 years ago, when someone was off with some sort of mental health problem. More often than not, I'd still have people running to my door, knocking on it, but actually saying, there's nothing wrong with him. I saw him in the shops 2 days ago, or he was on the beach. He seemed okay. He came to me. And that's, again, I think, a consequence of just a lack of, quite frankly, education amongst business. What changed it for us, as I said, what the stimulation for it was the fact that it was costing us a lot of money. Absence drove a lot of cost for us. And actually, I concluded that I was absolutely hopeless at dealing with it, because everything I seemed to do, I used to write some nice letters to people insisting they get back to work pretty quickly. And I couldn't understand why that didn't help them with their mental health problems. But anyway, so we were hopeless at dealing with it. And we invited, in fact, I think they knocked the door down coming in because they could see the problem as well. We invited Guernsey Mind in to help us. And we did some really radical stuff. Like Emily got us to talk to each other, which was... So there were people I've worked with for years, some of who had the odd problem, and we had a conversation about that, which was quite strange. And we've tried to keep talking to each other over the last 4 years. And in the first year, we reduced absence or days lost for problems caused by mental health issues by 65%. It was a phenomenal effect. And actually, we've sustained that every year since that time. So it's had a real positive impact. What have we done? Well, there is no real sort of magic wand here. It is. I joked about it a little bit, but we just do talk to each other. So rather than in a lot of businesses, we've all got these fantastic policies that we wave about when certain things happen. Absence is a cracking one where let's get the absence policy out. We've got somewhere off, and it says, well, look, when this person is off for 3 times and 4 months and all this rubbish, then we've got to issue them a letter, and hopefully that will sort it out. And then we go through these triggers, and eventually it ends up in someone losing their job. And of course, you lose focus from actually what you all want, which is for that person to get better and return to work. So in each case now, when we have, not just mental health issues, but any problem which is keeping people away from work, we develop a plan that we draw up together, and it's not based on a sort of faceless policy. It's based on whatever the right situation is for that particular person. So it'll look at, well, what can we do as an organisation in order to help the recovery rather than to keep you away. So we try and encourage people back to work as soon as possible. We make adjustments to their roles and other stuff like that. So to conclude, because I'm going to get hugged off stage in a second. I'm really talking to the businesses, whether you are an owner of a business, a manager, a director, or even just an employee, you can actually make a difference by going in and championing, taking a different approach to this in your organisation now. You're in a business, you have a problem, you're just ignoring it. Those statistics I gave you before, they're just not disputable. And they're just like the common cold, it can affect any of us at any time. What I will promise you, and I do speak from experience on this one, is if you accept it, that's actually half the problem sorted. All you need to do is accept you've got an issue, and I guarantee you will never regret accepting that as an issue. And then my third bit of advice, as always, just call Emily, because Emily and Guernsey Mind, great team there, have the expertise, and we are very lucky in Guernsey that we have access to a lot of organisations like Emily's who can provide the expertise where we don't have it. And I certainly didn't have it in that situation, and they helped us a great deal. Thank you very much.